welcome to North Carolina.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So you just played Shakori. I wanted to say that was pretty badass. The energy, have everybody, I don't know, just rock with you. And how did that feel?
That felt great. I mean, for us, we're accustomed to playing in many different environments, big scale stages like that, smaller venues, breweries, and so anytime we get to play in front of a lot of people like that who are lovers of music and lovers of culture, that's always a great time. So
yeah, and just the energy there specifically is crazy. The crowd's so hungry for music and all the dancing, just everything. I mean, it's our ideal place to play, our ideal environment to play in.
Yeah, everyone there was extremely receptive and supportive, and it was just such a good energy about the whole place, and it was really so much fun for us to play and feel their audience's energy on stage.
Yeah, I was going to say it's great, though, because coming down to North Carolina, we're like texting with all these different people and groups in that Shakori. Everyone got to see us, and I felt like we really connected with a lot of the North Carolina music scene and saw how awesome it is.
You've been to North Carolina before, but just visited, I guess.
Actually, this is our first, exactly. So individually, we've gone to North Carolina for, family or other reasons, friends, whatever. This is our first time playing in North Carolina as a band, though.
I know that it started in 2020, essentially, Free Whenever. It was just you two.
Yeah,
right?
It was me and Trevor started writing music together. We met in a really interesting way. We actually met back in probably 2017, playing a wedding gig together. Randomly, a good friend of ours, James, connected us and played this gig, hung out for a night, never talked to each other. So 2 years later, I think our friend James had sent some material that I was working on, kind of, whatever bedroom self-producing kind of material, sent it to him. He got in touch with me, started coming out to Brooklyn a little bit more, started kind of just jamming and making music together and writing. And then that kind of was the bedrock of the actual sound of the project. And then that sound continued to evolve, about a year and a half later when we landed on Brendan as our kind of full-time drummer. And now the songwriting process has also kind of grown into that new exoskeleton. So yeah, it's been cool.
You can hear the first time on this album we put out called Jam Junkies Volume 2. And that's the first time we all played together. And then that's why we put it out. It was just that was the next step for the band, because we all love playing live. We didn't want to sit inside all the time.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I'll add to that is I feel like we've been pretty prolific. We've put out a lot of music from every kind of mile marker along our journey. And for us, I feel like putting out music has always just been a snapshot of where we are at a moment of time, but then we're always looking to evolve it and grow it. So our original stuff was a snapshot of a process where we were just working together behind a computer screen, and then, Jam Junkies was a snapshot of when we all three got together, unscripted, unrehearsed, just played and recorded it. And now the stuff that we're making now, we feel is a lot more kind of developed and considered in its approach, but it still has that kind of raw fundamentals that we had honed in the early days.
Because I read Free Whenever is based on this Hindu philosophy of Saguna and the Nirguna.
Yeah.
And, the between form and formlessness. Yeah. I could tell, when I read this, I kind of did notice it essentially in the show at Shakori. And I was wondering, what is Saguna in your performances? And, what is Nirguna? Is it just, how do you decide when you jam and do you improvise?
Yeah, and we do improvise in our live shows, so there is a constant balance there. Saguna being the form and the Nirguna being the formless. But the cool thing is, even before the songs become the songs that we perform live, even in their writing process, and perhaps it's similar for lots of musicians, but even in the writing process, it's a big step that we embrace in the songwriting process and then let things kind of take form naturally. And then we bring them back to the live stage. They become formless again, right? And we allow ourselves to kind of crack open the egg and see what comes out.
Yeah, and I think, the form is definitely being an instrumental band specifically. Right, you have all these jam bands, but maybe they have vocals and stuff, and that's not the focus in our music. We have to create these moments of, going deeper where it is. I think even if the audience doesn't know it, what I've noticed in the crowd, especially at Shakori, when you are in those formlessness moments, it's almost intuitive for people, and they are feeling elevated at that point and heightened by the music. So
no, 100% with that. And I think another thing though is that when we approach our songwriting, we try and still make it have the spirit of formless. It should still sound a little bit jammy, but then we also want our jams to sound a little bit formed. We want our jams to sound a little bit like songwriting or singing or structure and consideration behind it. So I mean,
it's
love.
a very difficult thing.
Yeah.
Because when we started talking about the early days, we couldn't write anything under 15 minutes. So getting the form, we were kind of opposite a lot of people, because a lot of people, great musicians, but maybe they don't come from that jamming background like we do. And so for us, the formlessness was the start, and then we had to really work to get in that form.
And exactly. And like Trevor was saying about us being in this whole kind of instrumental genre, it's very easy to just become another jam band that focuses on improvisation. The hard part sometimes, especially for us, was like really thinking about songwriting and really thinking about song structures and repetition and melody. And then once we kind of realized the power of that stuff, I mean, we've just completely dove into it and really love to
100%.
Grow from that perspective.
For you, Brennan, how was it when you came into this? I know that you said that you grew up, well, you didn't grow up here, but you did attend Elon University in Burlington. So, and then you went to New York, because your friend told you to go, I guess.
What's your story, Brendan?
I just wanted to know the connection there.
Yeah, I mean, it's through the same guy, James, basically, who I met through a friend. Actually, I'd met Trevor in like 2019 too, again, and then 2 years later, we reconnected. And then that's how I met Neil, and I just kind of fell into this circle, this like friend group, in which we're all a part of, and it's just a really awesome, supportive, collaborative environment. And I went to some of their early shows and just always hung out. And then eventually we decided to jam on the rooftop. And like Trevor said, it's Jam Junkies Volume 2. That's what we did first time. And it's out, and there's really awesome moments. And a lot of moments in those songs that turned into newer songs that we have. But we just really clicked. And, I think as a musician, you really kind of feel that when you play with someone. Sometimes you can tell whether or not you vibe, but it was just pretty much instantaneous.
Did you all study music? How did you get into music?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just, I grew up with my dad's CD towers in my room, and he was always playing music. I have an older brother who is a musician as well, so I was playing, and I was accompanying him on drums or bass or whatever, and he was on guitar or keys. And so rhythm's just always been incredibly foundational in my musical journey, which is why I'm, a drummer. Yeah.
For me, I've been playing music since I was a kid, just kind of messing around. Always had guitars and stuff like that lying around the house. My parents were supportive enough of that interest, unless I didn't get good grades in school, in which case I'd get grounded. They'd take away a guitar, take away the drums. They'd leave the TV and everything. That was fine, but the guitar and stuff had to go. My brother was also a drummer, so, we would kind of have our little jam sessions together, have the stuff in like a dedicated room in the basement. And then my dad decided to become a part of the family band, and he picked up the bass, and he learned Seven Nation Army and a couple other staples. And yeah. And so, that's how I kind of grew as a musician. Never studied it formally. Didn't really know much about it from like a theoretical standpoint or an academic standpoint until I got much older and frankly started working with musicians like Trevor and Brendan and others. That's where I started to learn a little bit more about music theory. Aside from that, it was always just kind of shooting from the hips.
Yeah, I guess same for me. I just love it, ever since I was a kid. And I was obsessed with like guitar and stuff. I just started jamming with people right away. So I really come from a jam background. Like I would just.
So all in all, essentially, like you're all just, it was jam.
It was about creating.
Like the foundation was.
Yeah, it was about instantaneous creation, It wasn't about tweaking. It was about learning how to speak. Like I remember specifically learning all these songs and pieces just because we wanted to get to that level You know, especially as a kid, you're like, I want to just be able to, you know, do whatever I hear.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to do original music, and it was great, you know, meeting them and Neil. Neil really, I think when he started younger, I've recorded and stuff with friends, but Neil really had, like, he was into all the gadgets, and I think that's what opened up Free Whenever to become what it is now. It kind of started with that. So for him, it's a little different.
So yes, I was like kind of like jamming with my brother, but then I was also working on making my own music at a pretty early age. Like even when I was like 10 years old, I had GarageBand. I had it like plugged into a small like $30 mixer, and then that was going into my little Mac Mini. And then I was like kind of making these, frankly, which is bizarre in full circle, it was like instrumental rock music. So
Like Joe Satriani.
Kind of, or a little bit more like hard rock metal kind of thing. That's what I listened to when I was 10 or 11 or 12. But point is, I was like always messing with that stuff. But it wasn't from like a place of supreme technical knowledge. It was the same way that we approach record making today, which is just like, get the things plugged in, let's get the things sounding right, let's go. Like, let's not overthink the process. And for us, always having all of our sessions like recorded and stuff like that is incredibly freeing, because then we're not really thinking about recording. We never think about recording anymore. It's just like on and we just go, you know.
Do you just tweak it afterwards, kind of? Like, you listen to it and...
Yeah, we listen, and sometimes that manifests in us kind of going back to the drawing board in terms of songwriting, if that's a songwriting session, if it's just jamming for the sake of jamming and we find cool moments, sometimes those end up on records as well. But we like to just let it flow, because I think a lot of artists get kind of stuck at the point of, I don't feel comfortable recording. Every take sounds bad because every take feels bad to me. I feel like I'm in a little box. But for us, we've like, hey, let's just make it easy for ourselves, and that way the music will end up reflecting the comfort level of us as performers.
Is that kind of what happened with Jonas the Shaman, where you actually were just, I guess, jamming with sheep, and then eventually years later it became a song?
Yeah. It's on YouTube, Free Whenever Sheep Jam. It's still up there. We were always experimenting in the early days, like when it became more of a thing. We're like, okay, we got to make some, you know, we didn't know what we were doing. And we were trying to find our own voice. We did not want to do covers in this stuff specifically. We didn't know we knew it was something. You know, the sound was something. But Jonas the Shaman, that started like that. So then when Brendan comes in the band, and that elevated the band so much, because then it was like, hey guys, we have this idea, boom, let's sit down and play it out, you know. And then we, for months or maybe even a year, and then the ending part, probably came from a jam like 6 months into that period, and then that became Jonas, and then we were like, this is Jonas the Shaman. It was, you know.
I mean, I'll just say in general, our song, and I always have to remind myself to get patient and comfortable with it. You know, at times I lack that patience, but like a lot of our songs, especially our best material, goes through the oven multiple times. That's what happened with that one in particular. I mean, the Sheep Jam has a couple motifs that get pulled out. We jammed off of that further, and then what ended up becoming the chorus was at a certain point a bridge, and whatever was the verse was never a thing. I think we just take a very open approach, and we always want to remind ourselves that that's still the goal, is to take a very open approach to showing the world kind of our process and showing them that we're just exploring this music just like they are with us. So that's how we like it.
I think it's pretty cool that you actually also share your opening show for Balthus. And it's on YouTube, and in a way, I've talked to other musicians, and I want to say gatekeep, but they kind of want to be like, oh, if you weren't there, you missed out, you know, and their approach is, my performance was for the people that were there, and it's their gift kind of thing, which I understand that point of view, but I also do like when people are open and in a way, hey, like here's our music. This is how it feels. This is what it sounds like live.
Yeah.
Because your music does translate differently live versus in studio.
Well, that's one thing we're consciously aware of. Like, we know that our live experience, it is something we want to tell people about and show people, especially as people are just getting to know us. But then the other part of it is that we totally struggle with creating scarcity in our music. Our knee-jerk reaction is to just go out there and play. I say struggling, half sarcastically, meaning like we love that about ourselves. I think we love that we get to sort of like, no matter what the environment is, it could be the streets of New York City, it can be at a, more esteemed venue. We just want to share. We just want to explore. We just want to play. But yeah, a lot of bands don't necessarily think about it that way. The industry doesn't necessarily think about it in that way. So for us to take that approach is, it's different than what a lot of people do.
I talked about jamming. I had a lot of that when I was growing up. We would always say at the end of jams, it was just for us. But I'm happy now, especially in 2025, I want to share everything. I think that's what it's about. And we want to reach as many people as we can because we love playing to people. We want to play to as many people as we can.
Yeah.
When it comes to coming to North Carolina, I guess you would do weekenders.
Yeah.
But this is your first big tour outside.
Yeah.
How does that feel? Like, is it how do you cope, I guess, too?
How do we cope with each other? I don't know.
Not like
Still figuring it out. No. It's honestly been a blast. It's been a ton of fun. It's been great. We've been hanging out a ton, doing the things that we do. I was even commenting it on the other day when we were in Wilmington and we didn't have any gigs. We were just kind of literally playing in my dad's backyard just to keep the cobwebs off dust the cobwebs off, or whatever you would say.
Try out new stuff.
But when we were doing that, I think I was saying to you, like, I was really reflecting on, it takes a few days, and then I start to feel really just loose and much more of a vessel as a musician, because I'm not like, there's no build up to it. You're just kind of, and I do feel that way now, and that's a refreshing feeling. Even if my, playing one night versus the other, who knows if it's better or worse, but like, I think I at least feel good about having played a bunch of shows in a row. Makes me feel loose, makes me feel nice, makes my mind feel free. So we want to keep that going, that's for sure.
I saw that you were part of an agency called Immediate Family.
Yeah.
What's their role when it comes to your music?
We know Chris from Immediate Family super well, and he's a good friend. And we ended up working together on this record. It was actually our self-titled LP, and super great to work with them. Really great to kind of build some foundational things. It also enabled us to put out that record. Our working with them was a huge part of us being able to put that vinyl record out, which was a first for us. And I think we've kind of gone back to the old way of doing things just to get a bit of a change and do some stuff independent. So some of these recent releases and some of the ones that are going to be coming out are going to be just us kind of getting at it again. But yeah, it's really for us just a constant learning experience. Yeah. And so far it's kind of taken us in a great direction. We're doing lots of great collabs with other artists. That's how I would characterize kind of the next way we're going, or the place that we're going next.
You opened for Balthus. You opened for Talk, I think it's called. How does that, I know like Balthus it's getting bigger. So how does, coming from just jamming by yourselves, like opening for this band, and I don't know how many people were there. I didn't do my research in that area, but I bet there were a lot of people.
I remember it was like, because when the band started and we were sort of finding where we stood in our community and all this stuff and all these artists, and it's weird, like, years later, and then it's like, we're all playing together at Brooklyn Bowl.
Yeah.
We were always the underdog, 100%, especially in the early days. We would be playing with bands that, I don't want to disparage other bands, but like bands that were not that great, and bands that were not that established or anything about them, but they would try and walk all over us. And even to this day, we feel like we still have to fight for our right to exist and be doing what we're doing the way we want to. But then you get to play a show like Baltus, and you get to sit with these guys who we've been following for a number of years and who we really admire and respect and appreciate, and getting to sit with them and play, a packed out show at Brooklyn Bowl really makes all of it worth it. And it further confirms that oftentimes in life, in music and whatever, you do have to take an attitude of like, I know what I want, I know what we're doing, even if people tell you no, even if people make you feel like it's not the thing to do, stick with it, because you might prove them wrong.
What would you say? I mean, you are based in Brooklyn, New York, and this is just an assumption that I have, but in a way oversaturated with people trying to make music, trying to make it, etc. But at the same time, there is that beauty of you're able to connect with a lot of people because a lot of people go there for the music. And so how do you navigate that where it's like trying to stay true to yourselves? And then on top of that, you're in this oversaturated environment.
I guess that's just one thing about New York City and every sort of industry, especially creative. You really, like Neil just said, you just have to understand like your vision and what you're going for, and you have to stand for it. And it can be tough, but it really builds this sort of like thicker skin where you can just go out and do something that, play. And like the Balthus show, the talk show, coming here, Shakori, like it really makes it so worth it.
I mean, for us, I think, again, coming from a point where we were the underdog to a point now where we feel like this thing is kind of rolling down the hill and picking up speed and growing. It has been a learning experience. I would say the process has definitely been, growing thicker skin, growing a little bit more self-awareness around what we do and having confidence in what we do. It doesn't mean that other bands are worse or better or anything. Yeah. It's just that this thing has a right to be what it is, right? Just like other bands have a right to be what they are. In a crowded market like New York, I think everyone has to learn how to respect kind of the boundaries of what other bands do. At least the good ones, I think, do a good job of that, and that's what we've done.
Yeah, I think being in New York, too, like it being oversaturated isn't really a problem for us because there isn't really a big scene. So, which made us... It's kind of been a good thing because it made us look globally. That's how we connected with, Balthus and all these acts. And also, it's like, I'm constantly inspired and looking at other bands, ways they maybe because we're learning about all the other things about being a band, So it's actually great to be in this environment because then when you go elsewhere, you're like, wow, we were in the fucking earth. I don't think it being oversaturated, it's never felt like that. Yeah. If we were a singer-songwriter or something like that, or a small indie band, I think it would, but we kind of sit somewhere in between all that.
What are some of the future plans? Of course, put more music out, but do you have visions of wanting to open up for other bands? Or
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly discussing with other bands and bookers about opportunities to play with more established acts, and that's something we're always interested in.
I gotta not be honest, but essentially when people say jam band, I think of this one friend of mine that would listen to Fish all the time. And no Fish slander over here. But I don't know, like Free Whenever is, to me, when people ask me what kind of music is it, and it's just like, it's like a psych jam band, but also has those moments of high energy that I would want to headbang. So how would you objectively, you weren't part of the band, how would
it's an incredibly loaded topic, obviously, because there's lots of Fish fans out there. Some of them like our music, some of them may not like our music. There's totally a difference between how we approach things and how some of the other jam bands approach things. Again, we had that whole discussion about Saguna and Nirguna, right? So for us, there is a very different way of looking at the live performance than standard jam bands do. I mean, I think we can all admire and respect Fish and all the great stuff that they've done as musicians, but for us, it's just a bit of a different approach. And the music, too, also has that are not necessarily congruent with the roots of a lot of jam band music. Like, sure, as listeners, yes, but I would say we also, our music inherently has roots in things that are not common in the jam scene. Yeah. We have a huge dub reggae influence. I know there's jam bands out there that take reggae influence, but for us, it's different. Yeah. And it's that way for a lot of our kind of genres and influences too, where we just have a very different way of fixating on certain styles and genres, whereas the jam scene might fixate on a slightly different set of influences. So.
Okay. I understand that. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the whole genre topic either. I don't like to box musicians into one genre, and I understand that it's part of the music industry to do that.
Yeah.
But, you have to sell it to people.
Exactly.
But at the same time, because of people's influences, it could be a type of genre, but the influences of each individual in the band, it makes it something else.
And we're not like, all the original jam bands, there wasn't a genre called jam band until way after. So it's like anyone doing anything. You're just doing it.
You're just jamming.
You're just I mean, and that's what we come from. Led Zeppelin, I would listen to 30-minute, Pink Floyd. We all love Pink Floyd. Those are, I wouldn't call them a jam band though. And,
but I guess it's the marketing of it.
Yeah, of course it's necessary. But yeah, all of us, I mean, Brendan, in the cars throwing on a bunch of Queens of the Stone Age, and Sam Evian, that's even within him, that's a lot. And Neil's always digging fig grooves and African music, whatever. One of my first shows alone was Guar. It was one of the heaviest.
With the blood?
Yeah. But then I also saw Bob Weir and Simon and Garfunkel. We love music.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. With the genre list and the jamming and loving music in its entirety, if you had to choose maybe one or two records for the end of times,
not too hard for me. I'll actually I'll go with an artist who, as far as records, I've recently kind of pieced together my sort of record collection at home and got a proper set to listen. The ones that are just, for me, the easiest and listen all day are King Tubby records. I just want to listen to that all the time. Yeah. Versus some records, are kind of, I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, there's ones you're inspired by, and the ones that you're I'm just going to put this in my music.
Yeah, it's constant flow of medicinal music. That's what I get from King Tubby, so love that.
For me, I love Band of Gypsies. Just because through all the years, that Hendrix record has always been there. But I would say also the same thing, just in terms of some dub, probably.
Yeah. I have one more to add to the list before Brendan, which is...
But that's breaking the rules.
Was one or two.
The Wish You Were Here record is really a great listen, so that's my second.
This is a tough question, but I'm going to say Animals, Pink Floyd.
Okay.
Dogs is just one of my favorite tracks, and so is Echoes. That Animals is certainly the one album, if I had to hold on to something, maybe Europe 72, The Dead. I mean, I didn't really start listening to them until I was in college, so a little later, but I just found myself with a bunch of people who also are huge Deadheads. But Pink Floyd, All Things Must Pass, maybe. This is an album my dad was always playing, still does.
Did you all see the Pompeii in theaters?
I wanted to. It was, I really wanted to. If it comes back, I'll try, because that would be cool.
Come back. I want to check the Pompeii one. We're always just making music too, so I think it affects your fandom a little bit, because you're just focused on making our little world out here.
You listen to music and you get influenced by them, but there are other music that you listen to and you're like, oh shit, how does that happen when it comes to creating music?
For me personally, I don't want to overconsume music. I love not listening to music too. I love just being in the world too. So I think sometimes I like to remove influences to just give me a little bit more clarity and just focus. But whatever I'm listening to at the time is going to have an impact on what we're doing. But that could be a very specific thing, oh, this guitar player did this, or it can be something way more abstract, hey, what if our songs had a build that felt a little bit like this, So I think that influence can come in plenty of different forms.
Yeah. I think arrangement for me is listening to music. I think as we learned about songs, sometimes definitely inspired by how different people do it, like Pink Floyd, people who really broke the rules and created a new platform. I just love having something on personally, even if I've been listening even just books or just to have. I just noise.
After North Carolina tour, I know that you'll have a weekender out in the East, perhaps.
We're trying to do it all. I mean, really trying to push the boundaries. What we're not trying to do is just stay in a specific region. I think we want to explore, we want to expand, we want to find out where our fans are and come meet them wherever they are.
Hell
So
yeah.
that's the goal for this year.
Yeah, we have Instagram, Free Whenever Band, TikTok, same thing. We have
All
our
you?
website.
Who does that? All the
It's all
social...
us.
Nice.
We do everything.
I like
It's all grassroots. If you message, one of us is going to respond. So feel free to DM us. Yeah, we have our merch online on our website too, tour dates. Let's make something happen. And we have a lot of new music coming out. So we just released a song with Cats Roar. We'll have an album coming out probably at the end of the summer. And then we're going to have more music coming out. There's going to be a lot of music. You can never expect a shortage of music from us. I think that's another thing about us. We like to just keep doing it, and that's what we're going to do. So,
and honestly, YouTube is also where it's at, because you can also feel through the screen what it feels like live.
Yeah.
So
that's why we go see Pompeii, because
Yeah.
it's still magic.
But thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to talk about?
We love our fans like our children, so we want to grow the family a little bit more. So please come and become a part of this project with us, and excited to just be making more music for you
Hell
guys.
yeah.
It'd be a big help. Follow us on wherever you listen to music, Spotify, Apple Music. Let's spread the word.
Definitely looking forward to have you back in North Carolina.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah. Thank you.